All right. Well, today is Thursday, August 12th. I don't know about you, but I've been trying to figure out where the month of August is gone. I realize it's only the 12th, but it feels like it's been forever. So my name is Sue Peterson with the Michigan District of Kiwanis, and we want to welcome you tonight to Kiwanis Let's Talk. I wanted to count up earlier today how many sessions we've done on Thursday nights, and didn't get that into my work schedule today, but I'm very excited this evening to have with us a group of distinguished lieutenant governors who came highly recommended to us as individuals who have done very well in their role and can provide us some great input and great resources and talk about their role as a lieutenant governor. One of the challenges that we have had over the years, and I can tell you that I know it's happening here in Michigan as well, is filling our roles with our lieutenant governors. And the past year, having the pandemic and the things have changed so much where we've been, working from home or not being able to get out into the public and do things, as well as not being able to get out and meet with other Kiwanis members. It's added a little bit more challenge, a little bit more stress to try to fill those positions for lieutenant governor. So I'm hoping tonight that through some of our conversations, that we will have an opportunity to ask some questions. We have some questions here, but we're going to let everyone know that you're welcome to throw questions in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll ask those questions along the way. But I'd like to start out with and ask each one of our participants this evening, each one of our fellow Kiwanis members, our friends, to introduce themselves and give us a little bit of information about themselves. So Stephen, you're up in my left-hand top corner, so I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve LeBlanc. I am coming to you from the great Florida district, talking to you just outside of Orlando. Kiwanian in Florida since 2003, president 09-10, lieutenant governor of my division 22 down in the Naples, Florida area in 11-12, and Florida district governor under Polly Latt in 2018-19.
Welcome. Thank you. Martha.
Yes, hi. I'm Martha Rodzinski, and I'm a former branch manager of a public library, and I've been in Kiwanis for about 18 years. So I've been around. I have been board member, I've been secretary, president of clubs, 2 years as lieutenant governor from 2017 to 2019. And let's see, I'm currently a district trustee. I'm serving a 1-year term, and I'm also a trustee for the I'm telling a lot about you if you don't know where I'm from. Missouri, Arkansas district, sorry. And I live in St. Peters, Missouri, which is northwest of St. Louis. Anyway, I am a trustee for the MOARC Foundation also.
Wonderful. Thank you, Martha.
Yes.
Andrea.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Flynn, and I'm coming to you also from the MOARC District, Missouri, Arkansas District. I live in St. Louis, the county of St. Louis, and part of the Show Me State and the Gateway City. I'm married, and I've been a member of Kiwanis for almost 10 years now. I've served in every position: board director, secretary, president, and also 2 terms as lieutenant governor. And I have a little Shih Tzu who runs the house.
Okay, so if we see him jumping around, we'll know. We'll be good.
And watch out, Sue, she has her own podcast too.
Oh,
in her spare time.
Well, maybe that's the next step for
and
program.
And I'm pleased to say that I just started my own nonprofit, giving scholarships to young people.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then we'll go to Don.
I'm Don Townsend. I've held every position in Kiwanis. I'm out of Arizona. I'm currently the Southwest District Governor. I was a Lieutenant Governor in 2017 under Ed Verberg. Steve, say hello to Mary Lynn for me. And let's see what else. That's about it for now. So I'm enjoying it.
All right. So as you can see, we've got a variety of experience on the platform here today, but I also know there's a lot of individuals in our gallery, in our meeting that also bring other experience here. So if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. But we will start out with the first question. You've all heard about the Kiwanis moment. What has been your Kiwanis moment? So Martha, we'll start with you.
My Kiwanis moment as a lieutenant governor, I think, was bringing all the club officers together in my division. It was wonderful because all these people didn't know each other, and they all were doing the same type of thing. So it was awesome to have them all meet each other and then be able to talk on similar topics.
Wonderful. Don?
My Kiwanis moment as Lieutenant Governor was, I'm still involved. We have a great reading program. So my Kiwanis moment every year is reading to these young kids. And I have a Harley. So I ask a lot of questions. Do you have a Harley? I'm really surprised how many 4-year-olds have Harley Davidsons. And I think one time I was being a grandpa too now, I always carry tissues with me. This one gal, I'm sitting on my lap and she's looking up at me and her nose is running really bad. And so I stop, wipe her nose, and then after you finish reading, the best part is they all come up and give you a hug. So that's my Kiwanis moment.
Wonderful. Andrea?
Well, it's hard to narrow it down to one moment, but one of the things that I was really happy about was that we came together as a division. We didn't really know each other. And one of my themes for that year, I had a goal of the We Are Family. And so just bringing everyone together, but not just for fellowship, which was very important, but also with service projects. So whenever we got together, we did service projects for the entire division. And then each club was able to take away something that would help their particular location.
Wonderful. Stephen?
Mine's probably a little different, and that should surprise no one if you know me. Because mine's been going on for about 3 years and it's going to continue to go on. Let me explain that. I was lieutenant governor here in Florida along with 25 other lieutenant governors in 2011, 2012. We had a very divisive and not popular governor during my year. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave that part at that. But we endured trainings like no other. We endured 7-hour marathon board meetings because we spent 80% of it fighting with the governor. But in the end, I became a district governor from that class of lieutenant governors. Alan Yurgovich followed me the next year. He was from my class. Mary Lynn Desjardins is our current governor. She was from that class. And Prairie Real just got elected vice governor of the district at convention last week. That makes 4 coming out of our class, and that hasn't even come close to being matched by any other class. So I'm damn proud of our class.
Wonderful. That's great. So I'm sure there are some people on here. I'm looking at our attendees, and I'm guessing almost everybody or most people have served in a role. I'm sure there's a few that have not served in the role of lieutenant governor. So if you were to explain the job of a lieutenant governor to someone that said, well, you know, you have this title, you have the gold badge, right? You're a lieutenant governor. What does that mean? What do you do? Don, what would you say?
Well, I tell you, what I'd say is what I've told the lieutenant governors this year. First of all, don't just tell them what to do, go down and show them how to do things. And I was fortunate because I was late being lieutenant governor, so we only have a small division, 6 clubs at one time. So I knew everybody very well. And I watched the lieutenant governors as I grew up in Kiwanis, and we had great relationships in all the club. So I think the number one thing I would tell you is be part of the problem. Be part of the solution, not the problem. Help the clubs, because it's easy. In my 30 years in the Army, I could give orders, but it's better to go down and talk to people and get them to do things versus just telling them what to do. So I found I enjoyed it by going around talking to all the clubs. And I was thinking today, one thing that I got from all that, if there was ever a problem, I knew about it from the club presidents. I didn't have to worry about hearing about it at a DCM or something. They called me and talked to me, then we get right on the problem. So that's what I would say.
So DCM stands for district council meeting, correct? Or division council meeting?
Division. Yep.
Alphabet soup, I like to say, right?
Hey, man, I should know better.
Hey, we all do it, don't worry. Andrea, what would you say is the role of a lieutenant governor?
I would say, wow, you wear many hats. I would say you're the division cheerleader, you're the ambassador, you're the problem solver, you're the leader and guider, and you're the listener. You really do need to listen to and get a pulse for what's going on in your division so that you can meet those needs wherever you can and however you can. So many hats, but really just being accessible and open to people.
Steve?
I would tell them it is the greatest single opportunity to spread your wings and meet other like-minded individuals. My personal experience was, prior to accepting that position, I really only fraternized with the folks in my own club. I really only knew what my club did. And being a lieutenant governor afforded me two things. In Florida, the lieutenants are part of the district board. So not only was I able to get out and see, meet other Kiwanians in the same area, in the same county, basically. I got to see what their projects were all about. I got to see how their clubs were run. Got to hear what their problems, their successes were. That was invaluable to me because it made me realize not every club ran the way mine did. That was very eye-opening. And on the other side, going to district board meetings just afforded me making 40 new friends in one day. And I just thought that was really cool.
Great. Martha?
I think one of the number one roles that Lieutenant Governor has is as a communicator. You're bringing communication from club to club. I had different club presidents that would send me information about, what's going on with their club, and then I would share it to everybody in the division. So we all knew what was going on and we could all support. So I think communication was mine, but I loved going out to the clubs and meeting all the people and seeing people that I would never have known before. It was great.
Wonderful. I will tell you, I was a lieutenant governor 2 different years, 2 different divisions. Our club was moved from one division to another year when they did some redistricting. And I like to tell people that was the greatest job in Kiwanis, was to be a lieutenant governor, because I loved the same thing. I loved being able to go into all the other towns, and some of my clubs were, an hour away, hour and a half away. So, I mean, I had some travel distance at 7 o'clock in the morning, but, being able to go and, have coffee and, breakfast with someone at that hour of the morning just really starts your day off on a great way, because the people that you are with really care about their community and want to do things. And people like, would you do it again? I said, in a heartbeat. I mean, there was so much there that I just enjoyed about it. And truly, as everyone has mentioned, those are some of my best friends, are the people in those clubs that I have been with, and now being in 2 divisions, because my region's 2 divisions, but just being able to know that I can call someone or ask for advice or offer, and say, hey, you're doing an event, can I help you? So, the other thing I like to tell people is you have an opportunity to work with all these clubs, and you really don't have a responsibility to make sure it gets done, right? You're not the president where you got to follow through on everything, but you have an opportunity to, if they are asking for advice, to give advice, if they're looking for something, but it's also like you can help them celebrate their successes along the way. So we had a question come in on the chat line, and actually, I think that Brad got a hold of my questions ahead of time. Did you express interest in serving as a lieutenant governor, or did someone recruit you? I think we're up to Andrea to start.
Good question.
Go back on.
I was actually called by the current lieutenant governor at the time to see if I was interested. And I had been, people had asked me about doing this many times. So, and I had, told them no way. And so finally, I got a call from the current lieutenant governor, and he asked me if I would do it. And I said, well, I'm not sure. Let me talk to my advisor. So really, before I could really hang the phone up good, the Lord told me, he said, yes, you will do this, and call that man back right now. And so that's what I did. I called him right back and I said, yes, I will do it. And so I was asked by the lieutenant governor, but I was told by God that I would do it.
Oh, wonderful. So I'm going to ask follow up on that. Why had you said no before?
The usual reasons is too much work. You have to go too many places. My schedule is busy enough, that kind of thing.
Okay. The same things we hear. Steve.
Yeah.
Actually, what occurred with me was, unbeknownst to me, there was a meeting of past lieutenant governors in our division. And they decided at that time that it was very laborious to try to just, get halfway through a year and then try and find a successor. So they decided to take a different approach, and they all got together and they made a list of about 7 or 8 people that they thought should be asked. And then one by one, we got individually taken out for lunch or dinner, and they wound up making a 5-year progression plan, which I thought at the time was very smart. And I was slated in as, I think, the second one that they chose out of the 5. So, and I said yes when asked.
Had you been asked prior to that?
It had been mentioned to me, and the only thing I said, I was president 09-10, and I was asked when I came off my presidency, and I said, you got to give me a down year in between the 2 jobs. That's all.
Great.
But I never said no.
You never said no. Martha.
Yes, it's a kind of a funny story. I was finishing a year as president, and one of the past presidents came up to me and said, I heard that they're looking for a lieutenant governor. And I had heard that too. And he said, I think you would do a good job at that. And, he planted a seed in my brain, and I said, So I thought about it, and I contacted the present lieutenant governor and talked to her about it and found out what the role was, what you'd have to do. And I said, okay, I can do this. So that's how it happened. So
Great.
I volunteered.
You volunteered. Wonderful. Don?
Well, I was asking, like Steve, we had the current lieutenant governor there were two of us. So the lady was ahead of me, and then it was my turn. That worked out well. I'd like to go back to that here. And then I'd retired from the Army and from being a defense contractor, and I deployed a lot to overseas as a defense contractor. So I couldn't have done it and done justice because I was gone too much. But once I retired, that was third in line, so I was ready to do it. But I was asked.
So do you think, all right, let's skip that. I'm gonna hold that question for later. So the job description of a lieutenant governor, and as I mentioned earlier, some of you were on, I talked about, I worked on a committee from Kiwanis International about reviewing the job description of a lieutenant governor. And one of the things that was in there was, we're like, let's make sure this job description represents, because if I give someone the leadership guide and they look at that, the first thing is like, well, I can't do this job. Do you think that scares people off? Steve, we'll start with you.
Do I think that lengthy description of the job turns people off? I most certainly do. You can inadvertently overcomplicate things by telling them the 27 things they have to do and the reports they have to submit. And it's real easy to make it sound like a job. And it's volunteerism. It's getting together with like-minded people and helping other people. And I just think if we just stopped with the, I'm not an anarchist. I'm not saying anti-structure or anything like that, because there needs to be structure, but it doesn't need to be emphasized all the time. The human side of all this, I think, needs to be emphasized. I guess that's the best answer I can give you on that one.
Great. I'm taking notes while this is all going on. So Martha.
I agree. I agree that the list is daunting. I know for me, during the time I was lieutenant governor, we were encouraged to open a new club, and that in itself was daunting. It happened, but it was kind of scary.
Don.
Well, I kind of agree with Martha. I had to open a new club too, and I'd had the pleasure of working when I was a president with a couple past governors. So we tried to do one. In fact, that club folded. I'm trying to open it now again after 14 years. So I got a different perspective on things because of all my time in the service. I've always been a people person, and like Steve said, I always keep it personal. I like talking to people, and I talk to all the presidents, and like I said before, and try to help them, because some people want help. But I agree with Steve too. A list of things, which to me, 30 years in the Army, I didn't have any daunting challenges that I'd faced, during my time in the service. But it made it better because all my time in the service, I got to know people real well. So to me, it's still a people issue. Kiwanis should be all about people. And I probably irritated some people when I was vice governor, because I thought some of the past governors thought they were elitists, and I told them they weren't elite, because the people in the, if we didn't have members, we didn't need governors or lieutenants or stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. I mean, I really did. I wanted to do 2 years, but I ended up getting elected as vice governor. So I only did 1 year, but like you, Sue, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I loved it.
Andrea.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I've been cutting out, and between my dog being scared from the thunder.
Oh,
Oh
no.
But what was the
So the question was,
Sue? I'm sorry.
Do you think the job description that there is for lieutenant governor scares people off? If you give someone the lieutenant governor job description and they see it in the leadership guide, they're like, people that say to me, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to do all this. What do you think?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It is scary to people. And I think really just the unknown is scary to them because it's something they've never done before. So with a lot of people, if it's something you haven't done before, you're going to be, scared anyway, a lot of times. So, and then you add to it those different responsibilities that people hear about. And then it's just like, oh my God, there's no way I can do this. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm just good with serving at the level I'm at. I don't need to do anything else. I don't want to be in leadership. And so I think that's where we have to make it personal and really get to know the people that you are around and that you get to meet, and really just come to them and say, because a lot of times people don't realize they have leadership skills or that they have the potential. You see the potential in them before they see it in themselves, and you have to bring it out of them. And so I think just going to someone personally, not just trying to put them on Front Street in a club saying, oh, we want you to be lieutenant governor, but personally taking them aside or giving them a call and saying, I noticed that you have the ability to do X, Y, and Z. And I really think those are good qualities to have as a leader. And I think you would represent us well and really speak to them on their level and make it personal. And then if you have a good relationship with that person, they're more apt to listen to you than they are to just a blanket, okay, you're next in line, you were just president, so you should be lieutenant governor. But really letting them know that they recognize the leadership capabilities that you have.
Wonderful. Greg has a follow-up question. Greg?
So now, all of you having said that sometimes that list can be intimidating, what do you think a better tactic might be to look at the list and revise it, reduce it, change the requirements to be lieutenant governor, or B, keep it as it is? And are there some things you can say to market the position, to promote the position, to do that? And if that's the case, I'd love to hear how successful you've been in doing that and getting some tips on what to say to overcome that list if we're not going to change the content of it.
So I actually lost track of where I was going around your squares. So whoever wants to go first, go for it.
I'll take
Go for it.
that. What I would say, I know for me, it was really helpful to work smarter, not harder. And I knew that I wanted to get around to all of the clubs. You also have the responsibility of having the division council meetings. And so what I would do is make my visit to a club and the division council meeting at the, in the same visit. And so I would have the division council meeting prior to that club's meeting. And so I was able to have the division council meeting and have other clubs come to their meeting, that club's meeting, and then also be able to attend that club's meeting myself as a lieutenant governor's visit. So I was able to do two things at once. And then it also brought other club members from other clubs with me. So they also got to see that club and get ideas from one another and brainstorm, different things. And so it took care of a lot of things. And so you really do have to think smarter. And if you can use technology for some things, do that. But just try to think out of the box and think of ways that you can get the job done without having to go the old conventional way.
Great. Don?
Well, I found, Greg, what we did this year with Tony Gutowski following me, we talked a lot and set the training up to what things we thought they needed to know. And like Andrea said, we were working a little smarter than trying to cover everything. And then once we did what they needed to know, and then you can do the rest as you go along. And they can, as long as you got people that will talk to you and reach out to you if they got an issue, then you can kind of do it like that. But we just narrowed the focus down for them. And then we'd work with them on the other stuff as it popped up. Because you can't do everything in 3 or 4 days. You just can't. Because I've been to Camp Kiwanis. We did it online. Camp Kiwanis is about 6 or 7 hours away from me. Not all the lieutenant governors showed up during my year. And this year, Tony, we had, I think, everybody there. So Zoom is a great tool that helped us train the crop for next year. And then they had an opportunity. We just had a BS session on things that we didn't cover. What is it you need to know?
Great. Martha?
Quite honestly, I think the role of lieutenant governors is the best kept secret around. Before I became a lieutenant governor, I saw these people come through our club, and I really didn't know who they were and why they were coming. So I feel that it would be beneficial to have Kiwanis International run an article on, hey, this is what lieutenant governors are for. You know, this is why they're out there. I think lieutenant governors are so important to our clubs. You don't realize it until you've actually gone through and been a lieutenant governor. You think back, oh, wow, what I did was really important to what Kiwanis does. So I just think it's the best kept secret, and we should get out more and tell people who these people are who are coming to see our, and I guess as lieutenant governors, maybe it's our part to say, hey, I'm the lieutenant governor, this is why I'm here. A lot of times it doesn't happen that way.
Right. Stephen?
Well, first of all, I would completely shy away from the nuts and bolts of the job when I'm trying to find somebody to do it. I don't know how it works in districts where you have trustees as the board. Down here, the governor-elect takes all of the lieutenant governors away for a training in May of the governor-elect year, leading into the governor year. You'll get the nuts and bolts there, and you'll hopefully get a lot of motivation there. But if you're trying to do the initial sell, my recommendation would be to have more than one person who is visible in the division, maybe is past lieutenant governor, definitely past president. And they got to keep their eyes open, and they got to watch the presidents, the president-elects, whatever. They need to keep their eyes open and see who's effective in that role. And then you've got to take them aside and say, you know, you were very, very effective as a president of your club. We need you to be that effective for the rest of the clubs in the division. And I really think if you approach it that way of letting somebody know already that we can observe that you have the talents necessary to do this, the people skills, if you will. I think people take that as a form of flattery, and they're more inclined to take the job. Again, I'm beating a dead horse, but if you just waive the 28 things that you're supposed to do in your lieutenant governor, everybody's going to run away because it's another job that they aren't being paid for.
Daryl has a question for us. Daryl?
Well, can you hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Yeah. Okay, because my microphone was acting up earlier. I was going to say that I think part of the reason that we see lieutenant governors not being recognized is just my experience tells me there's a lot of governors that just aren't out there, aren't seeing the clubs the way they really should oughta. I know in my clubs that I'm in, I can tell you lots of times there's been years that the only time we saw the lieutenant governor was when they installed the new officers. That was it. That's not effective. And that certainly isn't painting a good picture of what a lieutenant governor is or does. I took it upon myself, particularly this last time as lieutenant governor. I was lucky enough to do it 3 times, to make sure that I visited every one of my clubs at least once a quarter, and many of them I visited every month. You just got to be out there.
Right. And I think, there's always, I'm thinking back to years ago, right? But it's like, oh, the lieutenant governor's here. What did we do wrong? Or, oh, the lieutenant governor's here. What are they going to ask us to do now? And I think that has changed over time. But that was, some of the perception was, what did we do? What are they going to make us do now? Versus, hey, I'm here to help. What can I help you with? And you know what? I just want to come enjoy lunch with you or dinner with you or work on a service project with you. And I think that's some of the best ways to get involved is to go to a service project or a fundraiser, because there's often that thought of, well, they're lieutenant governor, we often put them individuals on a pedestal. Well, reality is I always like to say, I'm a member just like you are. I have some other responsibilities, but I'm here to help you do what you want to do. Any other
Sue,
questions?
if I may add a little thing to what gentleman just said. I know not everybody has a spouse, but I am here to put my hand on a Bible and tell you that it's 100 times easier if you have a cooperating spouse. You need a partner in crime to do these things. When I became president, I made a pact with myself and my wife that I was going to attend every club function that I possibly could. I was the face of the club for that year. I owed it to the club. That was part of my own dedication to the job. When I became lieutenant governor, I made a pact with myself that I would go to every major project in the division. I don't care if I was there for 5 minutes for a photo op, or I was there 10 hours setting up and running the thing. That's just a personal thing I took upon myself. It made all the difference, because if you kick yourself in the behind to go, the job, it's that much more fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you have friends everywhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have friends wherever you go. Any other questions from our audience members? I don't see any hands up.
Tony's got a hand up.
Oh, Tony, go for it.
Yeah, just picking up on what Stephen said. Excuse me. I have recently finished the online Lieutenant Governor training, even though I've been Lieutenant Governor for years. Picking up on having a cooperative spouse. Yes, it's very, very important. But one of the things that came out in the training is having a deputy. So if you haven't got a supported spouse, and there are people who have a spouse that wants to stay in the background or don't have a spouse at all, but to have a good friend, someone that can go on the road with you, to travel with you, or in some cases deputize for you. So it's probably worth thinking. You're 100% correct, Stephen, on what you say, but for those where it's impractical, find a friend.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more.
Right. And I used to have members of my club travel with me. I'm like, here's where I'm going. Who wants to go? And sometimes it was like, well, we'll drive because it's such and such time or whatever, we'll go with you. And I was able to get, back then we had to have 4 members of our club make an interclub. And I was always able to get 3 people to go with me, and I think the big thing that individuals, realized after they went to 1 or 2 other clubs was, wow, they've got great ideas. And I always just tell people, I mean, the biggest, flattery you can have is to steal someone else's ideas, right? I mean, if someone takes them, and I said, why not, no one has the rights and the rules to all that stuff. Go ahead and take them. How can you make that, how you can adapt that for what you do? And there's a lot of things that people have picked up along the way. Tony, you made a comment in the chat. Interesting that at 26 minutes past the hour, membership and club opening were first mentioned 26 minutes after the hour.
Yes, quite deliberate, because in the training and in the documentation, one of the major roles for the Lieutenant Governor is to assist with membership and club opening. And it's the one role that puts nearly every person off being Lieutenant Governor. And finding a way of balancing that is one of the big challenges. So, and I've taken from the panel by their silence, no one mentioned it as part of the roles and responsibilities. So where do we sit with club opening?
panelists?
Still s-
Yeah, it's,
Silence.
It was part of
Oh,
our,
I'll take that one on. Brad's probably not gonna like me. Brad, take your earphones off when I answer this.
I'll be with you in a minute.
Look. My predecessor, Todd Smith, served with Jim, okay, Rochford. Todd, as a governor, got hit pretty hard with membership. I got hit hard with membership. We all have gotten hit hard with membership, okay? I really, honestly, in my heart, wish that for just 1 year, we could step back and concentrate on celebrating the members we do have, instead of constantly beating people over the head to go out and find other warm bodies to pay dues. I'm sorry if I am angering people. It's my opinion, and I'm sick of it. I busted my butt for 5 years for Eliminate, and I believed wholeheartedly in that project, and I still do. But you know what? When all of a sudden we stopped talking about it all the time, I mean, people couldn't wait for us to stop talking about it. It gets monotonous. It really does. Why can't we just celebrate the ones we have for a change? And I'm done.
I think the ones that really need to be celebrated are the pandemic members, the ones that have joined since March of 2020, because they were bold enough to not wait until they had 2 vaccine shots in their arms. They saw the need and they joined in a very perilous time. And to me, those are some real heroes in our clubs. And I hope that we do a better job of really celebrating the fact that they chose to join Kiwanis despite all of the concerns that we have personally and through our communities and all. They see that there's a huge need coming out of this pandemic, and they're willing to step up. So I agree with you.
Absolutely. And the long termers that stuck around through all this
Stuck with us. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Sue, when you put the idea of the Lieutenant Governor panel together for tonight, what was your intention to accomplish? What was the reason that you felt it was necessary? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I have my own opinion of why it should be necessary, but
well, I think I can say I'm being selfish, but I'm looking at our structure in Michigan District, and I've had several other governors call me and say, hey, we can't fill these positions. What do we do? We can't, I've asked, and it goes back to, I've asked these people, they've told me no. I've tried this, I've tried that. And I think about, how I was asked, right? I missed a meeting. Oh, Sue would be a good lieutenant governor, and that's the things I think about is, because people will joke, oh, you miss a club meeting, you're going to become an officer. And I mean, that right there was like, wow, you're going to make me put me in that position. And the thing for me is, I think about, membership and club opening, but I'm like, there's reasons we do this. And as, Tony pointed out, we talked about all the human side of this job and talked about what we're getting out of it. And I think talking about that component of it and what we're doing, yeah, there's a responsibility, but tell me what job we don't have has a responsibility. I mean, if I would tell you that I looked at the job description of the president of Kiwanis International and went, oh my gosh, I'll never be able to do this job, you wouldn't run. But there's another whole side to that I think we often overlook. As volunteers, it was like, how can we make our organization better? How can we get people involved? And I know in Michigan and, a lot of other districts, we have teams that help build clubs and stuff like that. And I think if we can go back to the human side of what we're doing, and which is so critical nowadays, since we haven't been able to connect in person, but that was, for me, was I want other people to hear that there are lieutenant governors out there who are doing great things. And there's no reason not to share their successes and share what they're doing. And, every district that's on here is different.
and I
We're all struggling with it, right?
And I agree with you, Sue, because for me, it's like, we're trying to build the lieutenant governor pipeline. And most districts are trying to do that. And to talk about the specifics of are we including club opening or membership, that we got to get the people in place first to even talk about that. And so but what Stephen said about celebrating the members, I think it could be a key way to build that lieutenant governor pipeline by talking, recognizing for the things that they've done and celebrating them. Okay, I'm happy doing this now. Let me take another step so I can help, it even be stronger. And so ideas like that, I think are going to be beneficial to moving it forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to add one more thing, because you hit on something, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
When I was a lieutenant governor 10 years ago, the Florida district published a monthly magazine, and it was published by the Florida district, and it was stories, KI stories sprinkled in, but Florida stories. But the centerfold of that magazine every month was a summary of every club in the district and the number of service projects and the number of service hours. And it was tabulated every month. Now, I've been around in this organization long enough to know that we tout ourselves as a service organization. Nobody, and I'm talking all the way up to 36, nobody that I can see does anything and even talks about service hours. We talk about membership every day. We don't talk about what we do, which is supposed to be service hours. I really wish there would be a reaffirmation of that, because that's really what the people are here for. We're not here to recruit it's nice when we can recruit our friend or our neighbor to come along with us. But, give some recognition to the work being done, not just the membership holders. All right, I'm off my soapbox.
And I think everybody that's on this call that served in a role would probably agree with you there, right? I mean, I think that we've all talked about it, we've all heard about it. I will tell you when I was asked picked to be the lieutenant governor, I was told that I would be traveling, 15,000 miles a year. Well, if you tell someone who's, 27 years old, you're going to be on the road 15,000 miles a year, and, you're doing this and that and the other thing, and you're a young professional, I'm like, of course you're going to say no. Right. I'm like, well, I don't have that kind, and it wouldn't have been 15,000 because that would mean I'd have to do a lot of traveling. But when you hear those kind of things, it scares people off.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to do that? I'm not going to do that. And I think we got to go back to, that component of what are we doing? How are we helping each other? I see the lieutenant governor role is a great leadership development role. There are a lot of young Kiwanians, young professionals out there that what a better way to get some of their education. I mean, to be able to go in and say that you were, a leader of 10 clubs in your district or your division. And this is what you did every month. I would look at that from an employer perspective and go, wow, this person put together, 5 groups of people, or they put on this event, or they put on that event. And I think that's the kind of stuff that if we can get more of that information out there, that they're helping with the service hours. I think that can help what we're doing. Brad?
I think that may be coming soon to a theater near you or whatever. I just brought up to the staff the other day, to Chris in particular, I said, not only do we have the Amplify program that should be a feeder system into being a lieutenant governor. I tried to put into the chat box, and it's a long document, so I sent to you separately, Sue, a thing that I developed a couple of years ago. Lenora Hanna, who's very well connected in the Kiwaniverse, was having this difficulty of finding good lieutenant governors, and so I put some ideas down. But I also mentioned that we had a webcast last night for the food insecurity group, part of the new club opening subcommittee, and there was one trustee, one board member that attended either of the 2 sessions that was webcast. There was nobody from the Children's Fund, even though that's going to be an area of interest that they're going to be doing. So we don't even have the buy-in from our very top leaders. And we've got to sort of, work on that. We need to make sure that if they weren't able to see it, that they do have an opportunity to take advantage of these things. But more importantly, while I'm waiting to talk or in between my opening and closing, I go through and I look at the stupid little Hollywood Squares thing we have going on here. And so I look at somebody that I don't really know there very well. And so I'll see Shirley Pitsley and I'll look and see whether I've got her as a Facebook friend, and I will friend her on the spot. I've done that with the 121 talks that I've given to different clubs during the pandemic and everything. So I'm running out of Facebook friends, and I know they're barely acquaintances, but to me, I've had so many people then respond like, I can't believe that you took the time to search me out on Facebook and connect, and I can't hardly wait to meet you in person at the convention and stuff like that. And that's what we need to be doing, is funneling the names of these people. If somebody took the interest last night at 8 p.m. Eastern to come onto a webinar about food insecurity when my stomach was rumbling with hunger, we ought to be sending those names back out to the district as people that show an interest in Kiwanis, that we ought to be pursuing them and putting them on a short list of people that have potential.
Mm-hmm. Greg, do you want to talk just a quick minute about what you're doing with the Amplify program in Michigan?
Okay. Yeah, and I have another theory that I want to throw out and see what people have to say. Maybe other districts are doing this some summer, but we thought that once Amplify is over, you've got these people that are going to go back to their clubs and do what with it? Maybe do good things, maybe get shut down by existing members that don't want to change. So we just thought that we wanted to get some kind of implementation going so they can start using their skills. So we're proposing to offer like 4 choices that they can get involved in at the district level, at the district, to help out and continue on. One would be if there's a particular service type of thing they want to do, hands-on service, several can get together or a whole bunch can get together and do some service project that could benefit the district. Another alternative would be to become a member of a district committee. A lot of these people are new to Kiwanis and new to leadership, and so to build our committees, and they can eventually become, district leaders or committee chairs. A third thing would be to assist lieutenant governors in their division to become kind of somebody said earlier about, you've got the spouse in there that can help out. Well, this is now another person that can maybe help out. And the fourth thing is to maybe, if they have a particular passion for a certain thing, maybe to create a brand new single purpose Kiwanis club. If they're interested in that. And so we're gonna be presenting that to them and suggesting that they pick one of those, or if there's something different they want to do, that they can come up with that too.
So just another example of, we have the 800, 900 people took the Amplify program, if I remember correctly. But there's an opportunity that if there was an interest expressed there, imagine if, a Martha or an Andrea or a Stephen or, Don called and said, hey, I see that you were interested in that program and you participated in it. How, what are your, just from the aspect of what is your interest? Is there something that you're interested in going forward? Brad?
I was just gonna say, I was allowed to do lieutenant governor training for 7 districts for 7 years or 6 years before I became a lieutenant governor. And so I always thought that the biggest issue was going to be accountability of how do you get volunteers who have home lives and maybe taking care of sick parents or running kids around to league ball games and stuff like that. How do you hold them accountable? But really the one aha that came to me, and maybe I'm just a little bit dense, not the sharpest tool on the belt, but the biggest challenge that I see is consistency. So I had a guy before me that I wouldn't, very nice Kiwanian, but no division council meetings, no club visits. And then I come along and I'm all gung ho, and I set out a calendar at the beginning of the year saying, here are the 4 dates, so you can put them on your calendar right now. There's going to be no excuses for missing them down the way. And all these people are like, what in the hell does this guy think he's doing? This last guy didn't make us do anything, you know? And then the person after me that I thought was gonna do a good job is an inner city school teacher, and she got wrapped up in all the changes with education. So I've been making the visits for her, but we haven't had any division council meetings. Now we're gonna have somebody that's gung-ho, that's a past governor and past lieutenant governor. And so you have these ups and downs, and we have that too, as you probably know, with governors. You know, we in the Indiana district, I won't tell you who's who, but you know, we sort of go from dud to a really great one to a dud to a great one, you know, and it sort of runs the gamut. And so I think, you know, maybe that's just our king or queen for a day syndrome, as you well know, Sue, from being the international president, but it's that one and done thing. And we've got to get to the point where we see lieutenant governor training, governor-elect training, what we do with Amplify, any of these things, we're investing in people. And so I always tell the club presidents and the governors, you know, you deserve time off for good behavior between October 1st and January 1st, but then we need to plug you back in to make a difference. And I'm heartened, although it seems a little odd, in my 7 districts this coming year, I know of at least half of them, no, 4 at least, that have 4 or 5 past governors who are taking on lieutenant governor roles. And largely it's because they can't find people. But I also, as I got to thinking about it, I'm thinking maybe that's not a bad strategy of coming out from the pandemic and being very unsettled as to whether particularly K kids and Builders Club, with not having vaccines at those ages, you know, with what we need to do with SLP work and just getting back into the groove, maybe that's a good thing to have some of those people coming back. But we've got to bring new people into the fold as well.
So I'm going to do a last question here for our panelists as we kind of wrap things up here. And as those of you that are with us every week know, this oftentimes will go till 9:10 or 9:15, depending on what people are talking about or what we want to discuss, which is always great. And we found that a lot of these sessions, a lot of great information comes out and a lot of great ideas. Would you do it again if you were a lieutenant governor? Would you do it again, and why? And if you, let's just go with that. Would you do it again, and why? So I'll start with Don.
I'd do it again in a heartbeat, because I like people. I like getting to the different clubs. I like sharing different ideas. And I don't care how long you've been in. If you pay attention, and Andrea mentioned, if you listen, you'll learn something. And I tell my people, once you quit learning, you're basically 6 feet under, and you're really not doing anybody any good. So yes, I'd do it again.
All right, Andrea.
Yes, I would do it again, but I feel like I would be, my goal would be to motivate other people to do it, because there's so much untapped talent out there that could really make a difference. You keep seeing the same faces over and over. I think that's where you can run astray and get into, you know, some of these bad habits that we have. So my goal would be to encourage other people, motivate other people to want to do it. And I would like to end on this positive note. In our division this year, we had 3 people running for lieutenant governor. 3 people.
That's great.
Running for lieutenant governor. And what I would say is, and they were all African Americans. I would say try to make your clubs as diverse as possible. If it's all older people, get some young blood in there. If it's all white men, get some women in there. You know, just diversify. The more you can do that, because when people see you,
right,
that different person that's in the club, then they can start saying, oh, well, you know, I know Andrea, she's in the club and she was lieutenant governor. Maybe I could be lieutenant governor also. We had 2 African-American females and 1 male who had already been a lieutenant governor before, run for lieutenant governor this year. So I would say do the best you can as lieutenant governor, because what I ran into, people told me, don't expect me to do what you did. You did all this other stuff. I'm not going to be doing all of that. So that's one thing you run into too. If you do a really good job, people are afraid to come behind you because they feel like they have to do what you're doing. But your job is to tell them, you be you, and you do the very best that you can do. You have some unhidden talents that you can bring to the table, and you do that. And so I think if we set a good example, it's within all of us to set a good example, and I'm sure you all have. And so that's what we need to do.
Yep. You do
walk
you.
the
That's
walk
great thing. Yep.
and just not talk the talk only.
Hey, Andrea, can we have the two people who lost the election transferred to our district, please?
Yes.
We need lieutenant governors.
Yeah, well, we're still looking for a governor-elect, so
Sure.
There you go.
come and visit us.
Steve.
All right.
The question is, would I do it again?
Yeah, would you do it again? I mean, everything.
Short
being equal,
short
right?
answer is yes. If I was still in my original division, which I'm no longer, I would definitely do it because that division over the last 10 years has unfortunately shrunk from 9 clubs down to 5. So I would look at that as an opportunity to get back in there, roll up my sleeves and see what we can do to make it better. I now live in the biggest physical size division in the entire state, and everybody knows Florida is kind of a big state. I would do it once I joined a club here. We just moved here 9 months ago. But once I joined a club here and got to know the lay of the land, I mean, the inner workings a little more. Yeah, I'd do it again. I'd be a lieutenant again before I'd be a governor again.
There you go. There you go. Martha.
Yes, I would do it again. I wouldn't do it right now because I'm actually a member of 4 clubs and I'm overbooked. But I would do it again because I feel like after going through it once, I really learned a lot, and I think I could make a bigger contribution to our division because of the things I learned.
Right. Well, I want to thank Don and Martha and Stephen and Andrea for being with us tonight. Great conversation. Let's give them our virtual round of applause, right? Our quiet round of applause. Thank you for being with us. I'm going to turn off our recording now so that we can keep our conversation going, because a couple other people have added some questions in, but I don't want to keep anybody that has other obligations to go. So